Hi, hello, and welcome back. And as you can see, there are a bunch of people here with me today, and we're gonna do, like I said, a special episode on Bruce Dickinson. I already kind of spoiled my ranking of his latest album, but he has a couple more, so we'll see where that lands for me. And we have here with us Vanessa, we have Taavi, and Clay from all around the world. And yeah, so I just want to ask you before we start ranking, uh, have you ever heard a Bruce Dickinson album in full before, or have you known his work outside Iron Maiden? So let's start with an S.
I had heard nothing. So this was all completely new to me. I missed the album in 1998 when I deep dived 1998, regrettably. But yeah, this is all fresh experience.
Okay, great. Tavi, how about you?
Yeah, zero albums. Only knew two songs from Bruce Dickinson, and I've heard everything from Iron Maiden, so I don't know how has this happened. But happy to know it now.
Clay?
I haven't heard all of the Iron Maiden albums. I've heard about three or four, but in terms of Bruce Dickinson, whenever I was deep diving 1998, I did hear Chemical Wedding. Really enjoyed it. I think it almost landed in my top 25, but I made some changes to that score, so we'll see where it lands now.
Okay, glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. So let's get this started with Vanessa.
All right, well, my number 7 is Tattooed Millionaire from 1990. I do appreciate that he was trying to do something different here than Iron Maiden. He was trying to kind of stretch his wings, but I don't really think it worked for him. A lot of the songs kind of reminded me of a lot of contemporary hard rock artists of the time. I heard some AC/DC, I heard a little bit of Bon Jovi at times, I heard a little bit of Aerosmith every once in a while, and I didn't find that he was like using his voice in a way that sounded good. Like he was trying to sound more like other people, I think, and it just I didn't like that. I didn't hate it though. I don't think it was good for him, but it was not like a bad album. I thought it was okay. Some of the songs were all right. I liked the opener, Son of a Gun was okay. I did like that it came to a satisfying conclusion after kind of a weird start. Wasn't really sure where it was going at first. And Tattooed Millionaire, the song was pretty good, but Born in 58 was where I started to be like, I don't know about this. And um, Dive was one of my least favorites on the album, with that whole whoa, whoa, whoa backing vocal thing. And all the Young Dudes cover was okay, but not what I want from that song. So yeah, it's not a terrible album. It just lacks a distinct personality of its own. It doesn't really feel like Bruce Dickinson. It kind of feels like he's adopting the sounds of the time, and it just leaves me wanting something more. And without knowing who it was, I would not have necessarily even guessed it was him. Like, I don't think he really sounds like himself on the album at all. So it just kind of felt like he wasn't really sure what he wanted to do with a solo album. So it's 3 stars, though. I still thought it was okay.
Well, that's unexpected. So I mean, it is expected for that album to be last. But the score is a bit high, I guess. But we'll
Oh,
see. I guess. Well, I already started talking, so might as well go on. So my number 7 is Tattooed Millionaire from 1990, as Vanessa said. And like you said and noticed, it is a hard rock album, much aligned to, AC/DC, late Aerosmith, even Bon Jovi. You notice that quite well. And he did this because he was sick of Maiden. Around this time, he was already, trying to to leave the band, and he stayed until Fear of the Dark. But you can clearly hear in his voice that he wanted to do something different. And in a way, yeah, I respect that he did. This is completely out of line for Iron Maiden. This is no Power Slave. It is completely different album. And what I mean, I respect what he tried to do, but was it good? Well, I don't think it was. I mean, the opener, like you said, Son of a Gun, I think it's by far the best song on this album. Tattooed Millionaire, the title track, is also really nice. I mean, I like the chorus, it's catchy, but everything after that falls flat. Especially Dive, Dive, Dive. That song is horrible. I don't know. It is embarrassing for Bruce. I mean, he sings in a much more raspier voice, you know, like he did on Fear of the Dark, and even especially on No Prayer for the Dying from the same year. And I just don't feel it. There is actually a couple of B-sides that weren't released on this album. For example, Darkness Be My Friend. It's a nice, soothing, dark ballad that for some reason wasn't included on this one. And if that song was on this album, I would give it a higher score. But overall, like you said, it is a weak effort with a bunch of uninspired song. Even though I can clearly hear he had fun recording this album. I mean, he is a big fan of Deep Purple and all of that hard rock stuff. But if I want to listen to this kind of music, I'm going to listen to some of the better contemporaries from that time. But this is not it. I mean, we can also say that Yannick Gers, from a future guitarist for Iron Maiden, plays guitar on this album, and he will join the band on No Prayer for the Dying. But overall, there are a couple of embarrassing moments. It is No Lies, the closing track. I think it's pretty solid. It could be better. It's maybe a little bit on the longer side, but I still find it okay. But by far the best song is Son of a Gun. I really like the chorus and the way how the song builds and builds. But everything else is unfortunately not that good, not that memorable. And it is widely considered his worst album, but not by all people. I mean, I watched a video by a guy on YouTube, Brendan Snyder or something like that. I mean, he seems like a cool guy, has a bunch of CDs and everything, but his rankings of Bruce Dickinson's solo work is atrocious. He had Tattooed Millionaire like #1 or something like that. I was like, no bloody way, no bloody way. I don't feel it. I mean, Bruce has much better albums than Tattooed Millionaire. So I have this one at only 2 stars. So this is how low I will go for Bruce. But don't worry, it will pick up soon after this. So who will want to go next? Clay, do you want to continue save Taavi for last? Because I have my suspicions that he will not have Tattooed Millionaire last, but I might be wrong.
All right. So in my reviews, I'm just going to go track by track. And I don't have Tattooed Millionaire last. My bottom, my number 7 is Balls to Picasso. This album and Tattooed Millionaire are pretty much night and day. It's kind of his first grungy sounding album. It's also the first album with longtime guitarist Roy Z, who will work on his solo albums, a couple more solo albums. And it's the first Dickinson album released when he left Iron Maiden, I think. And I'm sort of lukewarm on this one. It opens up with Cyclops, which sounds very mid-90s, and it's a little bit too long, but it's fine. Hell No kind of starts with this Middle Eastern deserty type drumming and then goes into a chorus that leaves much to be desired. But I do like the bridge. Gods of War should have been the opener because it's honestly the first really good song here. I love the solo near the end, and I think the drumming is on fire. 1000 Points of Light is decent. I think it's very good lyrically. I like the lyrics in the chorus. 1000 Points of Light are the muzzle flashes in the night, and the freedoms you profess to hold won't bring the dead back from the cold. I like that chorus. Laughing in the Hiding Bush has an ominous rhythm feel to it, and it's one of the more sinister tunes on this album. It sounds a little bit closest to an Iron Maiden tune. And at this point, the songs kind of start to dip a little bit. Change of Heart is a bit mid. It has a slower tempo. Shoot All the Clowns has crunchy lyrics and sounds like a B-side. But it does have a Faith No More feel, like in the bridge. Fire feels bluesy, but it's a little bit meh. And Sacred Cowboy has Bruce Speak singing, and I'm not a big fan of that. However, Tears of the Dragon is probably my favorite on here. I think it's a great closer. It's a nice big epic ballad. But overall, Picasso is a little bit but it could be worse. I have it at 3 stars. And I'd venture to say that the X Factor is better than this just by a hair. So yeah, that's my number 7.
Nice, nice. Yeah, my bottom is Tattooed Millionaire. And yeah, I was kind of shocked because I was just thinking like Seventh Son of a Seventh Son was before this, if we can compare it to it, but and just kind of you have this prog metal masterpiece to me, and then you just listen to this and this is like, oh, Bruce doing sort of pop metal, maybe, I don't know, and it kind of goes flat, even if I don't find it awful, it's just so mid. And Son of a Gun is definitely a good song, but to me, I see it more as a closing song than an opener to me. And even it's like it's a, I guess Iron Maiden has started with epic songs, but I would here prefer maybe the title song to be the first song, which I do like. I do like it. There's a very catchy chorus to me, and I like the hummable guitar solo by Janik, which is cool. And I yeah, I guess I like Born in 58 enough. Like it has some cool parts, and Hell on Wheels was just so odd. It's just Bruce has this sort of almost like rap flow to this song. The verses, it's very odd, and Gypsy Road could be way catchier, but it's not. And Dive Dive Dive. The opening felt like Bon Jovi, yeah, versus maybe AC/DC. It pretty much sucks. And Oh the Young Dude is sure a cover, you can do it, but it's I wouldn't choose this cover to be honest. But um yeah, Licking the Gun, I saw the title and I was like, oh no. And I was right, it's goofy as hell, and there's some weird voice sometimes coming and going. It's very odd. Uh, I don't even like Sululu. I felt so generic. It kind of hurts. But the closing song is fine. I don't know. Just I guess it maybe it makes sense to Bruce going this way, trying to be different than Iron Maiden and maybe stick out, but I don't know. Just I would rather choose him to do just pure heavy metal. Yeah, but 3 stars maybe. Sure, 3 stars. Let's go with that.
Yeah, that's totally fine. You, Taavi, you redeem yourself, so anything goes from here. So yeah, I don't know what were your thoughts about what's the song Zulululu? I think that one is, it's not bad per se, but it's kind of weird song. I mean, it's even kind of interesting in a way, but I don't know. The rest of the album, like you all said, was, yeah. I mean, Clay hasn't said yet, but hopefully soon. But we'll see. So, Vanessa, you go.
Yeah.
So I'm just basically going chronologically for now. Balls to Picasso is my number 6. It's funny looking at my notes because I wrote down notes for the song to song. And I started out optimistic, and it sort of fell apart as the album progressed for the most part. I thought again, like it had a pretty strong opener with Cyclops, and a different sound, but again, very contemporary to the time it was recorded. Like again, it felt like he was just trend chasing a little bit, like he hadn't totally figured out what he wanted to do. But I am happy that he moved away from that AC/DC Bon Jovi thing. That was definitely a relief. And another thing I noticed and that I took note of after starting this album is that he always has very catchy songs. Like he's a good writer of catchy melodies. So even when the music itself isn't the greatest, it's still catchy. Like there's still something to grab onto a lot of the time. So like Hell No is not a particularly great song, but it is fairly catchy and good enough, is what I said. Like I started out pretty optimistic. But as it went on, I just started to get a little fatigued by the album. Shoot All the Clowns, I think, is where I started to really feel feel a bit of that. I thought it sounded a bit too much like Red Hot Chili Peppers, and like he started doing that rapping thing that Clay mentioned, and that was just like I was just not into that. Not a fan of that at all. And Sacred Cowboys again was another one where I had a bit of a rough time, but he redeems the album a little bit with Tears of a Dragon at the end. It's a nice treat after everything else, I think. It's a great closer. It's an epic song. I like his vocals here, and it has more of a classic sound, and it stands out as unique on this album, of course. And much like the first album, though, I think it's very much of its time, lacks a unique identity. I do like it just a slight bit more because I feel like he's actually singing a bit more like himself when he's actually singing. But there were some pretty cringy moments on it that I could not ignore. So yeah, it's another 3-star album for me.
Yeah, that's completely what I have to say about that album, because it's my number 6, Balls to Picasso. It is the first album he did with Roy Z, so that's something. And it is an improvement over Tattooed Millionaire by a lot. It is much more cohesive album, and there are not that many embarrassing moments, except that Shoot All the Clowns rapping part. I mean, I don't mind rap, I like rap, but that feels kind of forced and awkward for Bruce to rap. And also, I have to note, this album is heavier with songs like Cyclops, Laughing in the Hiding Bush, 1000 Points of Light. And Laughing in the Hiding Bush was supposed to be the album title as well. And there was a cover artwork done by Storm Torgerson that kind of didn't have money to pay him, so that cover went for an Anthrax album in the end from this period. I'm not sure, Stomp 442. I'm not sure the name of the album because I don't like Anthrax that much. Anyway, this album definitely feels, like you said, Vanessa, following the trends of the time. There are much more alternative music elements sprinkled throughout, and which is understandable, and especially that's going to be apparent on the next album, Skunkworks. But here we can hear hints of it. Like I said, I have to give credit where it's due on this album. I think it is a step in the right direction for Bruce after Tattooed Millionaire. He ditched that hard rock style and even ditched the Iron Maiden sound. So he was trying to blend in to make something, something unique for him at least. And where this album shines for me at least the most are the ballads. He nailed both of them. Tears of a Dragon, maybe his biggest and most well-known, recognizable solo songs. And I really do love Change of Heart. I don't know, Clay said it's mid. I think it's pretty solid song. And they are both better than Maiden's attempt at power ballads, which is Wasting Love. So overall, this album is, like I said, much better. I like the production. The playing is pretty good. Roy Z is a really good, talented guitar player and producer as well. And I have this one at 3 stars, so that's an improvement over 2 stars from Tattooed Millionaire. So yes, that's gonna be it for me. So let's see where Clay lands for Tattooed Millionaire.
I'm not there yet. Not yet, not yet. My number 6 is the newest one, the Mandrake Project. I don't really have that much to say about this. I kind of need a little bit more time to sink my teeth into it. But I'm just gonna go track by track. Afterglow of Ragnarok. It's a pretty awesome tune. I don't know if it's a single, but it should be. It might be a single. I know there was like that whole thing with his music videos. There was like a bat in one of his music videos. That might be the song. Um, but yeah, it kind of reminds me of Accident of Birth vibes. I like the outro too. Many Doors to Hell is a more keyboard focused and also very proggy. I like it. Reign of Madness is very theatrical. Kind of reminds me of Can I Play with Madness by Iron Maiden. The production on Resurrection Man has much to be desired for. It's not my favorite on the album. Sounds a little bit muffly. Fingers in the Wound has some keys on it as well. It's a bit mid-tempo, sort of a power ballad, and also has a Middle Eastern flair in the bridge. I like it. It's okay. Eternity Has Failed is from the Maiden album Book of Souls, which I've heard a couple times. Curious what version of that song you guys prefer. I think I might prefer the Iron Maiden version, but that's just me. Mistress of Mercy has some great bass work. It's a cool metal song. Face in the Mirror is sort of an acoustic ditty. I like it. Probably amongst my favorite of his acoustic songs. He doesn't have that many acoustic songs, but and Shadow of the Gods is another nice ballad. The lyrics are pretty cool. Sonata is a closer and it's fine, but it drags on and on and on. It's not my favorite of his closers. I feel like this album is a lot more ballad heavy, and there's a couple cuts that could work well as Iron Maiden songs, including a literal Iron Maiden song on there from Book of Souls. It's about a 7.5 out of 10 or 3.5 stars. It's currently my number 6 out of the 9 albums I've heard so far in 2024. Kind of slacking this year, but we'll see where it lands once I complete my 2024 list. But yeah, that's my number 6. And it's not Tattooed Millionaire. We'll get there though.
It's okay. Somebody has to love it, I guess. My number 6 hasn't come up yet. It's Skunkworks. Yeah, I don't know. It's just these are kind of to me a little tough to rank, honestly. And well, maybe not the early ones, but I feel like later maybe there's some that could go, like it could be in any of those albums, but I'll try to manage. But this we have to sort of sort of heavy metal meets 90s, maybe alt metal or grunge a little, but and I think I read somewhere that somebody said that it's really experimental, and I'm not sure would I go for that, to be honest, in any of these albums, but sure. Maybe in some standards, yeah. Including like the head switch maybe was one of the songs that Bruce uses like this odd voice to it, and yeah, sure, that probably fits the bill. And there's some fun songs, like I feel like Inside the Machine is one of the better ones. It's a very catchy Bruce rocker, and yeah, and Dream State has sort of dreamy vibes going on, but he always does go big. Which when I was thinking that it might be this sort of more experimental thing, maybe I was like, is he going to go big or is he going full on to streamy vibes? But he he does go for the Iron Maiden choruses type of things. And Solar Confinement, yeah, that has a huge chorus, and with Inner Space, I like the energy of it. And Strange Death in Paradise, the closing song, is pretty cool. It maybe has this sort of angrier Bruce in this album, and seems like he was maybe not in the best state of mind. Maybe read something about fighting with his manager and such, and yeah, but yeah, it's a good album. Like it's a 3.5 stars for me. So I don't know, just not just something I'm gonna choose to listen to from this crop of albums. Yeah, Skunkworks, my number 6.
Yeah, that's my number 5. Still going chronological, but I'm done with that, I promise. So yeah, it's a new sound from the previous 2 albums. It's a bit more grungy. It's gone away a bit from that alt metal sound, which I was a bit relieved about. But at the same time, still don't love this. Don't really like the production on it, like the sound. I found it a bit flat sounding. I don't know if maybe that was just me, but I didn't really like Jack and Dino's production on it. It just sounded again too much of the time, and thankfully after this he goes away from that. I will not be saying that again. But yeah, it was better than the previous 2 to me. There were some good songs on it. Solar Confinement was catchy. It reminded me a little bit of Pearl Jam in some ways, but it was pretty good. Faith actually gave me a bit of Faith No More vibes, which I guess is kind of funny given that it's called Faith, but it's another decent song. But nothing was really blowing me away on this one. I just it just didn't really leave as much of an impression, but it wasn't unpleasant either. Again, it kind of like Taavi said, it's like, I won't reach for it, but like it wasn't, I didn't not enjoy listening to it when it was on. I just still think he hadn't quite found his own sound yet. And again, it reflects the time. Like it feels very like 1996 to me. Nothing that made me cringe though. Nothing that really stood out like the other 2. So that was nice. It was just a couple moments that I found mildly annoying, but nothing too crazy. But not much that really stood out in a super positive way either. Like it was just sort of not mid, but it just didn't, it was decent, It was pleasant, but overall not very memorable. So it's my last 3-star album, but we go up from here.
Okay, well, this is where we diverge. So I, at number 5, have the Mandrake Project, his latest album. And you already maybe saw that on my previous video that I did. I talked about it. I waited for so long for him to release a new album, and they kind of hyped it a bit, and my expectations were quite big, and that's what you get when you expect something to happen, that to be good, but it is not that good. I mean, it's not bad, it's not terrible or anything, but it is not what I expected. When I heard Afterglow of Ragnarok, I was like, this is fine. This is okay. I like the chorus, but what I hated the most on this song, besides that music video, is the pre-chorus. The pre-chorus is where you can actually hear that Bruce is struggling with some of the notes, and he's been trying to sing like that even in Maiden, the latest couple of albums. I mean, I get it, he had throat cancer, he's 65 years old, and I mean, he still sounds really good on this album, but some notes, like the pre-chorus on Afterglow and a couple of other songs, you can hear his struggle, so to say, to sing those notes. And this is my biggest problem with that song in particular. But my least favorite song on this record by far is the second single, Rain on the Graves. which I think is pretty generic hard rock song, and that spoken thing he did in the verses I don't like. The chorus is really simple. I mean, it's pretty basic and generic, like repeating "Rain on the Graves, Rain on the Graves" like a million times. But the only great thing about this song in particular is definitely the solo. Solo is great. I love it. And what can I say? What I haven't said already? Well, the production. I have my problems with production on this record, and especially how Bruce's voice is mixed in. In some of the songs, he feels buried beneath the instrumentations, and especially guitars. I mean, guitars are fine; they sound really good, but his voice is kind of, somewhere deep, and that's especially apparent on Afterglow of Ragnarok. Um, Also, Clay mentioned already, Eternity has failed, and I think this version is much better. And initially, If Eternity Should Fail was supposed to be Bruce's song on his new album, an opening track. It was supposed to be a concept record, and Steve liked that song and kind of asked him, "Do you want us to, re-record it for Maiden album?" And he accepted. And that song was my favorite song from Book of Souls by far. And I think Bruce does this version much better because he adds something more to it, and especially the end. There's backing vocals happening. And there's really nice soloing as well by Roy Z on this song that I really love. And I think this version is better than Maiden version. And also we have Fingers in the Wounds, like Clay mentioned, a more synth-heavy song. I like the chorus and the way he sings on that one as well. Shadow of the Gods is definitely a highlight for me on this record. It starts out slowly, but it kind of builds and it explodes around 4 or 5 minute mark, and to a really satisfying ending, which is something that cannot be said for Sonata Immortal Beloved, which has a nice vibe to it, nice atmosphere, and I like the overall tone, but the song is 10 minutes long, and it just doesn't go anywhere. It's just there. I expected, it's gonna explode or some change is gonna happen, but no, it's still the same throughout. So I don't know why it's 10 minutes long, but he sings it really well. There are some nice lyrics, but overall, a big disappointment for me. Even though I like some of these songs, the ballad, the acoustic song, Face in the Mirror is fine. I mean, I like it. I know many people actually do not like that one in particular, but I do like it. I think it's a fine, simple acoustic number, and it kind of suits his voice as well. So overall, disappointing, but it's my fault because my expectations were unrealistic, I guess. So I have this one at 3.5 stars.
All right, so I'm up next. My number 5 is not Tattooed Millionaire. It is Tyranny of Souls. This is an interesting one, released in 2005. It's produced by Roy Z. Kind of feels like a joint effort between him and Dickinson. Like it feels like the most collaborative effort between the two of those guys. It was a little bit hard one for me to rate, but overall, it's okay. It's pretty good. Mars Within sets the stage for the album. It's an interlude. It's a bit spacey, but grandiose. Grandiose. I can't say that word. Abduction opens up, and for a little bit, it sounds a bit like early Bullet for My Valentine at first. But there's some technical aspects to it that's pretty good. Soul Intruders is thrashy and a speedy song, and the chorus is pretty fun. Kill Devil Hill is dynamic and is both heavy and mellow. I really like it. Navigate the Seas of the Sun, very pretty with the gradual buildup in the song. Wikipedia says it's inspired by Eric von Daniken's theory about extraterrestrial presence on Earth long ago and about men dealing with that in the future. River of No Return is fine, but it's definitely filler. Power of the Sun is a quick, heavy, blazing tune. Pretty good. Devil and a Hog is a little bit silly. I like the chorus, it's catchy, but it's not a favorite. Believe If, what a weird word. It's a bit meh. It has tinges of Black Sabbath though, and it's pretty foreboding, but also kind of lame. It's not my favorite on the album at all. Tyranny of Souls is the most epic sounding song on this album, and it's also dynamic. But overall, this feels like a heavy and nice album. Sort of loses me in the back half though. It's very front loaded. And I'm sure the stuff Dickinson was doing with Iron Maiden was better. I haven't heard anything past Dance of Death except Book of Souls, but I think Dance of Death is better than this album. I think I gave that 4.5 stars. I don't know if that's a controversial opinion, but I really like it. But for this one, I'm going a strong 3.5. Pretty good. Pretty good.
Number 5, Post Picasso is next. Love that Roy C is here for the first time, and he will be here many times more. And yeah, I do find this more confident as an album than the first one for me. Even if he's trying a lot of things. Starts with Cyclops, or Cyclops, I don't know. And yeah, I guess it starts with scary robot sounds or something, and already. But I feel like it still had more promise maybe than the previous album, maybe as an opener, and really dig the bass on it. So cool. And yeah, Hell No is not the best song, I don't feel like. And don't know, should it be number 2 in the track listing, but it's fine. It has some cool moments, especially like the vocal part after the guitar solo. And yeah, Gods of War is to me a epic little tune. And Laughing in the Hiding Bush was the first, maybe the first real time that I was like it. I don't know if I like it as much. I find it a bit repetitive for me, and Change of Heart is really sweet. I like it sort of more ballad type maybe. Cool. And Fire, I don't think that song has the best chorus, and yeah, I guess I don't know, sometimes with Bruce I feel like some of the choruses are maybe sometimes even in Iron Maiden, so it's not just Bruce, but sometimes they may be a little too simple, but if they're loud, they're good enough, I guess. And yeah, Sacred Cowboys, I guess here it's the chorus is the best part of the song. And yeah, I forgot Shoot All the Clowns. I didn't even mention that, but it's okay. Tears of the Dragon though is why um sorry, why I should maybe decide to buy this album, because it's so epic, and it's very beautiful yet heavy and epic. And also the first Bruce song I knew as a, I don't know, I was less than 10, and my friend showed me that song, and yeah, it's very cool. Yeah, still at 3.5 stars for Post to Picasso. And I just also remember seeing like it's the Bruce's the Peter Gabriel album, and I don't know, can I go that far to me and feel like Gabriel is a bit better than this album, but sure. But yeah, Vanessa, your turn.
I knew
So-
you're gonna like. I'm sorry, Vanessa. I knew that Taavi's gonna love Tears of a Dragon. That no, I expect that song to be on his top 10 list of songs. That's for sure. So sorry, go ahead.
That's good.
Yeah.
So my number 4 is the new one, the Mandrake Project. Kind of agree that it was a bit disappointing after the previous 3 albums. Afterglow of Ragnarok starts off pretty good and heavy as an opener. Kind of crazy to think that 19 years has passed since the last album. It doesn't feel too much different, like it's similar vibes. I do think it sounds pretty good in full, but I don't really love it as a song. Like I don't know. And like you said, the Miroslav, the lyrics, or not the lyrics, sorry, his voice just sounds pretty rough at some points. Like it just, I don't know. And again, with Many Doors to Hell, I didn't totally love that one completely. I found the chorus a bit annoying, but it had a really good solo. Bit unsure about Rain on the Grave. Chorus is fine. Didn't really like the verses with the talk singing. The pre-chorus instrumental is interesting. It does make the song feel a bit messy, though. I found it was a little bit all over the place. And I'm just not sure how I feel about the production touches on some of the songs, especially on Resurrection Man. It sounds almost too sanitized or something when it starts, and like it gets better as the song kicks in. It's a pretty decent song, but I find it wears out its welcome, and that is a problem I had with a lot of the songs on this album. I found they wore out their welcome. That was a big criticism that I felt. And I do feel a bit like the choruses were not as strong on this album as any of the other albums. Like that was one thing that kind of stood out to me, is I've always thought he was a strong writer of choruses that were catchy and memorable, and I didn't feel that as much with this album. But I mean, it's obviously it's pretty good overall. There were some good songs. I really like Shadow of the Gods. That's my favorite song on the album. And I think it probably should have been the closer. That Sonata song, it just didn't go anywhere. Like it was just kind of there. It was way too long. The album is too long for what it is. They could have really tightened things up. It still feels like Bruce Dickinson, which is nice, and that was a big thing for me, especially early on. My lower albums is that they didn't feel really like distinctive. So that's one thing I do like about it. And I do think it falls in line with his sound, but it's just not quite on the level of those previous albums by any means. And there's some nice standout moments and some good songs, but also some weird production choices here and there that I don't really like. And again, yeah, his voice at times, it's a little rough, which you can understand, but that's the first time I really noticed something like that. And it's just not quite there. It's a little bit rambly. It's a little bit just doesn't really have that conciseness that some of his best work does. So it is still a 3.5 though. I still liked it, but it's a low 3.5.
I just wanted to say I accidentally called Rain on the Grave Rain and Madness, but
Yeah, you did. I was like, yeah, let it go. But good, it was actually a cooler title than Rain on the Graves. I give you that.
that is cooler, yeah. Where does it land on your 2024 list, Vanessa?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. Probably some, because I've heard 85 albums now, I think. So it's somewhere probably in the 40s or 50s, maybe. So it is 3.5. So that's still better than some things I've heard. That's but yeah, I don't know the exact placement.
We'll see. We'll see. It's not my favorite for sure. I mean, New Judas Priest is much better than this Bruce album, but yeah. And now I have my number 4, which might be controversial pick because I have it this high. Usually it is on bottom half of people's list, and that is Skunkworks from 1996. And like you all mentioned, it is very much influenced by the music of the time, so alternative music, grunge, and to be honest, I think Bruce did a great job. He and his band. This is an album without Roy Z, and I like. Vanessa mentioned that she doesn't like the production. I actually do like the production here on this album. It's kind of warm and nice. I mean, the songs are not that heavy, they're more melodic, and just like by looking the first 3 songs, Space Race, Back from the Edge, which might be the best song on this record, and my favorite, my personal favorite from this record, Inertia. I think they're all great, especially Inertia. I really like the verses and the way how he sings, and you can hear the passion in his voice. Unlike, for example, Tattooed Millionaire, I think he, you know, he wanted to do something different here, and he manages to do that, I guess. I mean, the songs, they're all catchy, and there are no weak moments in a way, the embarrassing moments like on the previous two records. This one, the band is energized. The songs are much more cohesive, even though it's a bit long. I mean, the whole album, like everything from the 90s, it is a bit longer, but I do like it, especially the first half of the record. The second half is a bit weaker, but not that much. I mean, I really love the closing track, Strange Death in Paradise, which is a song that Bruce does over and over again in a way. I mean, we have the similar thing in Tyranny of Souls, and even on the latest album, he does do these kind of epic, slow, mid-tempo songs with grandiose choruses, and I do love this chorus especially. I think it's a really, bombastic song. I do appreciate it a lot. Space Race is a fun song. I mean, this album, I have a special connection in a way with this album. I mean, I listened to this a lot back in the day when I was a kid, and I have some nice memories. And this was the first Bruce album I even bought on CD. So it wasn't Accident of Birth or Chemical Wedding. It was Skunkworks, and I do like the cover artwork. It was done by Storm. The way I can say freely that yes, it might be controversial pick that I have this high, but I do really love this album. I have it at 4 stars. So we are up from 2 to 4, and I do believe this is the first 4 that we have so far. So I'm curious to see what you'll have it. Number 4. So off you go, Clay.
Yeah, the cover art reminds me of The Division Bell or even Falling into Infinity by Dream Theater. It's really good. And that's my number 4, Skunkworks. Not Tattooed Millionaire yet, but apparently this album wasn't going to be a Bruce solo album, but instead a band that he wanted to make called Skunkworks. But I thought that was kind of an interesting fact. It was produced by Jack Endino, who produced Nirvana's debut Bleach. I like this album. I really wouldn't call it a metal album. It's more alternative rock sounding than anything Bruce has ever done. Space Race is my favorite on here. It's an alternative rock sounding song. Feels very unique in Bruce's catalog. It has a cool time signature and a cool message too. I think it's definitely my favorite. Back from the Edge is cool. It's a quick song and goes by fast. I wish it was a little bit longer, but it's still fun. Inertia starts off slow and sounds like a hard rock song from the 2000s at first, but then it picks up speed and gets better. Faith is a grungy song, and the guitar breakdown at the end kind of sounds like Soundgarden to me. I really like Bruce's vocal delivery in Solar Confinement. It's very alternative again. The chorus, however, is a little bit repetitive, but it's still pretty good. And Dream State has some cool guitar effects. It's a bit slow. It's not really a favorite of mine, but it's all right. I Will Not Accept the Truth, easily the weakest on here. It's just kind of boring. And I find the I Will Not Accept the Truth lyrics a little bit repetitive. Inside the Machine, probably the most metal song on this album. It's very speedy and fun. Head Switch has Stone Temple Pilots vibes, and it's short and sweet. Meltdown is a little bit proggy. It's pretty good. And Octavia is cool as fuck. It feels really futuristic, and it's really good. Inner Space sounds like if Queensryche were an alternative band, and Strange Death in Paradise, I sadly didn't really care for very much. I feel like this might be lower on people's list because metalheads may be angry with this because it's more proggy and alternative. But I dig it well enough. It definitely feels like a grower, but I still have it at 3.5. It's a very high 3.5, and I think one day it could be 4 stars. But 3.5 for now, and I believe that is my last 3.5 album. So
Nice. I love how Clay keeps saying it's not Tattooed Millionaire. Yeah. That will become his trademark. But yeah, number 4 is the Mandrake project from this year, released early March, and yeah, like with Iron Maiden, I feel like every time when Iron Maiden album comes, I kind of just kind of excited, kind of listen to it, enjoy it, but then it gathers dust a long time, and hopefully it doesn't happen with this album because I do enjoy it. It's not perfect, definitely not. It's a bit too long, and not every song is a winner, even if I don't think there's any bad songs or something that really just like, oh no, there's no, I didn't feel like, but maybe some songs, yeah, went too long. I felt that, and I remember when the first single came out, I think Miroslav put it on the server VR, and yeah, I enjoyed it when I listened to it, and I still enjoy it quite a bit. I think it's a good opener. And yeah, there's just songs that I really enjoy, like Fingers in the Wounds. How do you say it? But and it could have a chance to go quite high, even for the year. I don't know. I don't know. And when Eternity Has Failed started, I was like, this sounds very familiar, but I was like, where do I know this song? Okay, for sure, I was first thinking it's some Iron Maiden song, because it's, well, Bruce Dickinson. But it is from the Book of Souls. Um, I don't really know yet which version I prefer. I do like both, and maybe I like the drumming more in the Iron Maiden one with Nico McBride than in here. But yeah, I feel like that is a pretty epic song still. I love the vocal melody, especially on the verses. And yeah, personally, I did like the last song, and to me, it had enough parts, and it to me it went um, it even had good dynamic changes sometimes. Um, yeah, I like it. Maybe a little too long, but still. And Bruce Dickinson, his voice to me sounds like pretty good here. Like I didn't find it bad or anything. We can hear his age, but I still personally don't have too many problems with it. Um, and especially like in studio, I don't really know how he sounds live, to be honest, nowadays. But yeah, I don't know. It's just to me this is 3.5. It's a good album. Um, Maybe we'll see. Will this be a top 5 March album? I don't know yet, but we will see. But yeah, Mandrake Project number 4.
So my number 3 is Tyranny of Souls, which I found continued on in the sound somewhat of the previous 2, but I think here is where I don't find it as consistent and strong, obviously, since I have it below them. There's some songs on here I really like, but there's a few that don't necessarily like as much, or that I find maybe are just a bit too much in this, just kind of this too much of the same thing. So I think it opens strong with Abduction. It's nothing too different, but it's very solid, very nice and heavy. Soul Intruders has a cool heavy riff to open. It instantly gets your attention. I like how it switches up to be more melodic in the chorus. And Kill Devil Hill is another classic Bruce style kind of mid-tempo, as we said, very epic sounding, heavier guitar on the verses and pre-chorus. Very cool. But Navigate the Seas of the Sun, I don't mind the song, but there's something about the sound of the verses or something that I just don't really like very much, but I do think it has a really good guitar solo. Like this is just where I guess I got a little nitpicky on this album. I don't know, but there's some songs on here that I did really enjoy. I think that River of No Return brings things back on track after that song that was a little iffy for me. It's a pretty classic sounding Bruce track. There was that weird vocal effect to start Power of the Sun that kind of startled me, but thankfully that was brief. Otherwise, solid song, soaring chorus, which is something I noticed that I say a lot. Soaring chorus, epic sounding, like that's definitely his trademark. He definitely excels at that. Devil on the Hog was one that was not my favorite. It was just kind of okay. And I wasn't really very big on Believal. I didn't really like the sleazy sounding verses. It was a bit 90s grunge, and I just wasn't really big on that song. So yeah, it was just a bit of a mixed bag for me. Like I like Tyranny of Souls as the closing song. I think that was very strong and ended this album on a strong note. It's a little uneven, but there's still stuff on here I like way better than those first three albums, and it does feel like a Bruce Dickinson album to me. So it feels like he's not trend chasing here. It feels timeless. I don't really think it sounds like 2005. I don't really think it sounds like really any specific era, so that's always nice. Obviously, great guitar work, memorable melodies, everything's here. So it is a very strong 3.5 for me, and my last one. So yeah, that's my number 3.
And that is my number 3 as well, Tyranny of Souls. And I remember when this came out after Dance of Death, I was blown away. I listened to this album front to back, I don't know how many times. I knew every song, especially the chorus on Kill Devil Hill. It is so epic and typical Bruce Dickinson song, mid-tempo-ish and with nice soloing, and he sounds amazing. And he sings about stuff he loves, and that's flying. So that song, it might be my favorite from this one. And the opening, like you all said, is that brief interlude with Mars Within, and then the abduction starts, which I do. It's really trashy song, like almost thrash metal, and I do love it. I think the chorus is really melodic and catchy, and we continue with that trashy style, like on the next song, Soul Intruders, that I also really love. It's, and like Vanessa said, it has a melodic chorus, so it starts heavy but with melodic touch to it. Navigate the Seas on the Sun, I do love. I think it's a really nice ballad, and it has some nice, beautiful, warm vibe to it as well. The way how he sings that song. Devil on the Hog, I know you all mentioned that you don't like, and to be honest, I do like that song. I think it's a fun, hard rocking track. I mean, much better. And this is how you do hard rock track, not like on Tattooed Millionaire. Sorry, Clay, but that's right. Believable, on the other hand, I don't like that much. I think it's my least favorite song on this record. Like Vanessa said, the verses are kind of iffy, and the chorus itself is kind of, you believe evil, whatever he sings about, but I do not like it that much. And what this album lacks in general is Adrian Smith. That's the thing that this album needed, like on Chemical Wedding and Accident of Birth, and that's Adrian Smith and his solos. And Roy Z is really good, but I mean, he's not Adrian Smith good. And yeah, so it is a very strong album for me. I do not have it at 4.5, but I do have it at high 4 stars, and this is the last 4 stars, and you will see soon enough the next two. So yes, 4 stars for Journey of Souls and I do recommend it for anyone who wants to listen to Bruce.
All right, so I'm next. I'm gonna knock this out. Finally, I got Tattoo Millionaire at number 3. This album feels completely different and out of left field from everything Bruce has done with Iron Maiden, but damn it, it works. It's a great way to hit out the new decade of the 90s, and it was a fun listen. 1990 is notorious for being a weird year, and I think it balances that time period pretty well. So it opens with the classic rock sounding song "Son of a Gun." It's heavy, rocks hard. Tattooed Millionaire has this 80s sound in the drumming, and the chorus is super, super fun. It's probably my favorite on this album. Born in '58 is kind of like a nice nostalgia song. Not my favorite, but it's pretty good. Hell on Wheels opens with this AC/DC sound. The vocals on this are a little bit too tough guy sounding, though. I feel like he's trying a little bit too hard, and the chorus is a bit repetitive after a while, but it's okay. Gypsy Road is catchy and fun. I love the guitar tone on it, and I love Dive, Dive, Dive. It has some whoa-ohs, and it's a song that I really think could benefit with some synths. It's bouncy and it's fun. I love it. And I didn't think All the Young Dudes would work as a metal song, but it does. And Licking the Gun is definitely the most Aerosmith sounding song on here, especially in the guitar style. It has some cowbell, and it's pretty great. Zulu Lulu is a short song, but it rocks and works well. And I do like the closer well enough. And apparently this album was written in 1 week, but it's really good. It's a light 4 stars, and I think it's this funnest record. And I really had a good time with it. So
Well, I'm glad you like it, Clay. I'm glad you like it.
I thought Taavi would have my back with this, but
Yeah, I expect that's what I said immediately because this is Taavi written all over it,
yeah.
that sleazy hard rock and I don't know, cheesy. So I did expect Taavi to have it as high as you, but I was wrong.
Okay. Yeah, my number 3 is Tyranny of Souls, which I did really enjoy. I like the length. 43 minutes. It's already a 5-star length, even if it's not 5 stars for me, but think twice. And it has a bunch of damn heavy songs and like Soul Intruders and Abduction and like I'm not sure how do I feel about the like double bass sounds that drums are doing, but it's still very furious, which is the main thing. And yeah, Navigate the Seas of the Sun. It's one of my favorites. It's more of a closer to that epic ballad type of power ballad feel, which is really my thing. And like I also felt like it's a bit front loaded, maybe. It's not as same level to me in the back half, even if I really enjoy the title song, Tyranny of Souls, and just an epic closure. And like yeah, I do miss Adrian Smith too. Uh, I don't know, maybe my favorite Maiden guitarist. I never really thought about it too well, but probably like his writing too. And yeah, just a few songs maybe that I don't enjoy as much. Devil on a Hog, maybe Unbelievable. But yeah, these are all just it's getting harder, maybe even because these are also solid and like Bruce really knows what he's doing in these albums, and maybe he uses sometimes a bit of maybe a similar formula, but we all enjoy it still. And it's a 4-star record for me. Really cool one from 2005.
Right, so my number 2 is Accident of Birth. First of all, what an album cover. It's just like, whoa, but it's pretty cool. Very appropriate. I think it has a strong opening track. It's a nice breath of fresh air, catchy and heavy, but less tied to any kind of time period. And that was the one thing that really stood out after those first 3 albums, because I listened chronologically. I just really appreciated how this felt completely timeless. Star Children is a really good heavy rocker, great opener. Taking the Queen, really nice ballad, really shows off Bruce's vocals very nicely. Dark Side of Aquarius, great triumphant sound, some cool solos. And I just think everything here is just light years ahead of the albums before for me. Everything feels more natural here, just sounds so much better. Yeah, just really, really was happy to get to this album, I think, because I was a little worried after going 3 stars all those first 3. That was like, uh-oh. But no, this is everything comes together here for me. So yeah, Man of Sorrows, another good ballad, this classic showcase for Bruce's vocals. Accident of Birth is the first song where I was a little bit unsure of, but it was mostly just those vocal effects on the intro. It gets better from there. It's a good, solid song. Yeah, so I think everything here was really good. I thought the closer Omega was really, or no, that's not the closer. Oops, that's my mistake. Yes, Arc of Space does end up being really nice way to close out the album. There's some really nice guitar, violin, and cello in the arrangement. Makes for a nice coda to close out the album after what I thought was a more epic track. And I think that's why I always think that Omega is the closer, because it feels like a closer. But it's great as well. Yeah, this album is a huge step forward from the first 3 for me. A solid listen that has a classic sound and feels more comfortable for Bruce, unless his talents as a singer and a songwriter really shine through more without being bogged down by following trends of the time period. For the first time, I can hear this and think, yeah, this just sounds timeless. This is a great, really good album that I am going to go back to at some point. So this is a strong 4 stars for me.
Okay, I accept that. 4 stars is good. My number 2 is like Vanessa's Accident of Birth from 1997. And everything you said, I do believe it's true. It is, Bruce ditched everything he was trying to copy, or, he did his own thing. He did metal again, a little bit different than Maiden. It is more classic heavy metal. But we have, besides Roy Z, we have Adrian Smith, and that is definitely felt throughout this whole record. His solos are chef's kiss here. I like the production, and everything works here. Like you said, everything felt natural, and the flow is really good. It kicks off with Freak. And fun fact, I already mentioned that in my previous video. When you listen to Freak, tell me you don't hear the new song Mistress of Mercy as well. It is basically the same riff, and the verses, the way he sings them, is really similar to that new song. So, but Freak is a much better song by a lot. Great way to kick it off, and you can know from the get-go, you know what to expect from this record. That is not another Skunkworks or Balls to Picasso or, God forbid, Tattooed Millionaire. So sorry, Claim. And I'm gonna tell you right now, this album and the next one are better than any Iron Maiden album after Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, in my humble opinion. And I listen to these a lot. I listen to all the Iron Maiden records, but I do feel these 2 are much more enjoyable for me, at least. I know many people, especially heavy Maiden fans, will disagree with me, but I do believe Accident of Birth and especially Chemical Wedding are a better listening experience overall than any of the new Maiden era stuff. Maybe apart Brave New World, which I do love, but I think Accidental Birth and Chemical Ending are better even than Brave New World. There is a nice variety as well on this project. I mean, we have the opening, blistering, opening with Freak, and then we have more mid-tempo songs and slower songs, but they're still heavy, like Star Children with a very nice chorus. And we have ballads, Taking the Queen and Arc of Space, which are both beautiful, especially Arc of Space. And like you said, it doesn't feel like a closer. I mean, it has that closing vibe to it, but I do think Omega should be the closer. It feels like an actual closer. My favorite tracks here are the more complex ones, like Dark Side of Aquarius and already mentioned Omega. The Magician is a really goofy track with some silly lyrics, but I do really like it. It's catchy as hell, especially that one and Road to Hell, which was one of the singles. What can I say? I have this one at 5 stars. It's obvious that I will have this one at 5. I don't find any song here to be weak. Everything is great. I do have CD of it, but I forgot to take it out, so you can see that beautiful cover, original cover done by the same guy who did Eddie from Maiden. So yeah, it's kind of weird and creepy, and that's why they kind of did a different version for US and Canada, I believe, which is much more subtle and nicer and weirder as well. But this one is kind of funny. So yeah, this is an easy 5-star album for me, and great listen.
Cool. So we might have a quadrifecta here because I also have Accident at Birth, or Accident of Birth, I should say. Probably the closest to sounding like Iron Maiden here. It actually features Adrian Smith, like we all said, Iron Maiden guitarist. I really enjoy this album. It's the best sounding album for Bruce up to this point. His vocals seem so much better than any of the previous albums. As much as I love Tattooed Millionaire, I have to admit that. Freak is a heavy anthemic song. It has some cool soloing. And then obviously we have the 30-second interlude, Toltec 7 Arrival. Very atmospheric, and it leads pretty well into Star Children, which is a banger, has some really good drumming. Taking the Queen is another atmospheric song that it goes into metal grandeur, and love the guitar work here. I think it's mixed great. And that transitions smoothly into Dark Side of Aquarius, which is really good, very thrashy and proggy, and it almost made my top 10 Dickinson songs, but probably number 11. Road to Hell feels a little bit out of place on here, but it's a good deep cut. I think it's a little bit alternative. It could work on something like Skunkworks. Man of Sorrows is awesome, has a very grand cinematic feeling to it, cool guitar solos. And sadly, the only clunker on this album here is the title track, Accident of Birth. My least favorite here. It sounds a bit muffly, but it is pretty heavy. The Magician has some really interesting lyrics, like you said, Miroslav. I think it would have worked great as an Iron Maiden song. And it's another song that has Woes. Welcome to the Pit sounds sinister and evil. Black Sabbath vibes on that one. And Omega is another highlight, which shows Bruce firing on all cylinders vocally. Has a very cool guitar solo that just sounds majestic. And Arc of Space is a wonderful acoustic song. I really wish it were longer, but I'm torn between 4 and 4.5 here. I think for now I'm gonna go a low 4.5. A lot of great tunes. It grooves hard. And the album artwork is so silly. It's up there with Dance of Death in terms of silliness. Except this one's a little bit creepier, but I mean it's cool. It's cool. It's very weird.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know, do I really like Dance of Death cover myself, but um, yeah, my number 2 is the same. Everyone, Accident of Birth. And damn, it's like Bruce versus Iron Maiden in the 90s, and yeah, Bruce is taking the win here, and pretty easily. And yeah, it was a really nice surprise after maybe trying out different things when you go solo. It does, I guess, make sense. And now we're back more to the what you may be thinking, Iron Maiden, and well, Adrian Smith is here, and damn, it's a lot of kick-ass metal songs, but not just like it has a nice variety to it too. And I love when Bruce does the ballads too, like the Ark of Space and Man of Sorrows, and oh, if I got the song right, I'm not sure. Taking the Queen was one of them at least, and like Omega is pretty kick-ass, more epic style of song, and um, there are a few moments where I'm like not completely sure that's around that accident of birth through Welcome to the Pit section where I'm like good songs, but I don't think it's to the same level as the others for me. And it's just yeah, I can't really fault. Really, production is very fine to this kind of music, and love love the guitar playing a lot by Adrian Smith and Roy C, and how they uh, do their solos together sometimes in such. And yeah, just don't know what else to say. It's a kick-ass metal album. You should listen to it. I don't know, do I like this or Brave New World, which I like better, but yeah, it's a great one. 4.5 stars for this.
Great. So I guess my number one is obvious. It's The Chemical Wedding. I've been missing out on it before. Like it would have made my top 25 for that year for sure. I think it was just a really great, enjoyable listen, right? From beginning to end. Like it flew by. It's hard to believe that it's as long as it is because it doesn't feel like it at all, which is always an important thing. If you're going to make your album that long, you better make it worth my while. And Bruce definitely does here. I think it opens really strong with the heavy King and Crimson. It's catchy with some nice heavy guitar. I really like the guitar solo and soaring vocals on Chemical Wedding. Like the bass that opens the tower, that's really cool. I did note that the Killing Floor was my least favorite, but I mean I think that's all relative. I still said all good things about it. I like the little softer bridge part and how it transitions back. So I don't really know why I said that about it, but maybe it's just because everything else is so strong. Book of Thel, it starts off really energetic and heavy. I like the more melodic chorus. Such a great epic and heavy song. It justifies the runtime. It takes you on a journey, which I really like. Gates of Urizen has some great solo soaring vocals from Bruce, and I really love the build that comes with the guitar solo. And I'm gonna call out Clay for a second here. It just when I was listening to this, it makes zero sense to me how Clay thought Jerusalem sounded like Creed in the past. I did not hear that at all. I made me laugh when I listened to it. It's a great song.
I was so wrong. Oh my God.
It's just so funny to me. It's like, what? How? Now that I've actually heard it. Just a great blistering guitar solo on that one. Trumpets of Jericho fits the zeitgeist of the late 90s with that jackhammer riff a little bit, but not in a distracting or off-putting way. It's just a very catchy song and really cool. And yeah, I basically have great things to say about everything. Machine Man, another great heavy song. The Alchemist ends things on a strong note. So I don't think there are any really weak tracks or moments on this album. It's pretty timeless sounding, like its predecessor, but I think it's even better, of course. I really like all these songs. Everything about this album sounds great. Bruce is in top form as a writer and vocalist here, but Adrian Smith and Roisy really shine here as well. They really stand out. Some great guitar work throughout this album. It's an album that flies by, like I said. It's consistently enjoyable throughout. And yeah, 4.5 stars for me for the Chemical Wedding.
And obviously, we all have the same number one that I did expect at all. I thought it was gonna be Chemical Wedding or Accidental Birth for all of us, but I wasn't sure who will have which at number one. But I'm glad that you all have the same number one. Of course, Chemical Wedding for me as well. And you already maybe knew that I'm gonna have this one at number one because I mentioned this, especially when we did 1998 deep dive. You have to listen to Chemical Wedding. You have to listen to Chemical Wedding. Well, yeah, because it's so freaking great. I have it, of course, at 5 stars, and I would give it 1,000,000 stars as well because it's by far one of my favorite albums of the 90s, metal albums at least. And like I said, for the previous one, it's much better than anything Maiden done after, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. And I do like this one even more than I will say it, and I maybe regret it, but I don't care. I'm gonna say I love this album more than I love the debut album for Iron Maiden and Killers. And I think it's an epic album. It is really well written. Both Roisy and Adrian Smith kill here. They're both amazing. The bass work is amazing. Even the production, which is something I did not expect for 1998 album to be this good, especially for a metal record, because metal albums of that era sounded really weird and lame most of the time. But this one sounds as it should be. It's not like it's from 1998 for me. It sounds a bit different, out of time. And it kicks off with great King and Crimson, great guitar work. It's heavy track, epic chorus, but it's not epic like the second track, the title track, Chemical Wedding, which I do really love, and it never gets old for me because I've listened to that song I don't know how many times. That chorus is really epic. I know Clay will love that song. Killing Floor, you mentioned that it is your least favorite, Vanessa. I do really like it. At first it was my least favorite song of the record, but over time I do started to appreciate it more. And you're not the only one. I mean, a bunch of people online, for example, say that Killing Floor is their least favorite. But I do really like that little distorted riff happening on the chorus in the background. It is really subtle, but I do really like it. And throughout the whole chorus, the lyrics are a bit so on this song, but everything else, the overall vibe and aesthetic of the album is like its cover artwork. Like I said previously, Bruce really loves William Blake, and it is felt on this album. I mean, from the cover artwork to the songs, especially Jerusalem, based on a poem, and Dido's Feet in Ancient Time. And like you said, the bass work I do like, especially on the tower. It is groovy start, and the chorus on it is really good as well. And all in all, we all forget to mention drums, and we all mention guitars, but I do think drums on this record are especially really good. I do, like I said, like the production and how everything fits together. Everything is audible. You can hear the bass, you can hear the guitars, you can hear Bruce normally, you can hear the drums. Everything really works well. What can I say? This is a fantastic album, and I do believe it was my number one for 1998, my favorite album. And I mean, it's a weak year overall, but this album is really, really good. And of course, 5 stars for it. And I do recommend everyone who wants to listen to Bruce outside Iron Maiden to listen to Chemical Wedding and Accidental Bird, because they're both amazing. So yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, it's a shame that Iron Maiden and Judas Priest just were not doing too well this time. Um, yeah, I think this is Bruce's magnum opus in terms of solo albums. Um, King and Crimson is so heavy, sets the stage. You know you're back to the heavy metal era of Bruce solo albums with this one. It has cool dual solos, very good. Chemical Wedding fits the album's themes. It's very melodic, and it's like you said, it's a definite highlight for me. The tower is cool. It sounds like it could be on Seventh Son. Killing Floor isn't my favorite, but it's still cool, very aggressive. Love whenever he screams Satan. Book of Thel has a stomping rhythm, some cool riffage. One of my favorites on here. Gates of Urizen is a mystical, slower song. It's pretty good. And Jerusalem is awesome. I don't know what I was saying whenever I graded you in that camp season, but everything about the song, it's great. Love the lyrics. It has a soaring musical vibe. The outro is so anthemic. Trumpets of Jericho has a cool, crunchy riff. Probably the most hard rocking song on here in terms of just like outside of metal, just like hard rock. Machine Men is a good mid-tempo heavy rocker with some great guitar work. Another good drum groove. I like the pre-chorus on here. And The Alchemist is amazing. Very soaring song. It's a perfect closer. I'm giving this 5 stars, and it's my favorite Bruce Dickinson album. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Clay, for that. I really appreciate it. I
course.
knew you had this one at 4 stars before, but you now saw the light, seen the
I have.
light. It is a 5-star record easily.
I listened to this twice. Definitely probably my top 10 of 1998 now. Maybe top 5.
Nice, nice. Yeah, The Chemical Wedding. What can I say? Just this is like everyone should listen to this, especially from looking at 90s metal, definitely. And although this uh kind of goes above the 90s metal, sometimes 90s metal is maybe a little, I don't know. I started to think maybe some industrial type of things start to come mind. So especially in this era, and this is just the heaviest that Bruce has gotten in his solo career, and starting with the first song, and you know you're gonna be a wild ride, and the art cover that this album even is the most scary to me, and it's very cool actually. I don't know what it is actually. Might be something from down below, but uh, I don't need to know. But yeah, just this track listing is pretty. I don't really have anything negative to say. Every song has its purpose, and there's no weak moments to me. And yeah, it has very cool playing, and really the songwriting from the duo, mostly Bruce Dickinson and Roy, and just a lot of great choruses and verses and solos, and what you expect from metal albums. And I guess for me, it's not a 5-star album. It could be maybe someday, but just maybe I just need more time with this album, and it doesn't. Maybe I'm more of a sort of 80s metal type of guy, but even if there's nothing wrong with this album, and yeah, I guess I'm gonna focus on in the top 10 songs video. But yeah, 4.5 stars, very great. And
Well, this was fun, and I'm glad I made you actually listen to Bruce's solo work. I know you already know Iron Maiden, obviously, and Clay knew Chemical Wedding from before. And yeah, do think his solo work is pretty strong overall. I mean, except a couple of duds, but I think it is up there with some Iron Maiden classics in my book. I mean, it's not better than Number of the Beast or something like that. I'm not saying that, but it is really close for me, at least. Some of these albums, especially Chemical Wedding. So, what can I say? Thank you again for being here with me and talking about this. And we're gonna do top 10 songs. It'll be in the next video. So stay tuned for that. And like, share, subscribe, and all that YouTube jazz. So thank you again for watching, and see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.